Y'all, it's your boy Easy, and on today's episode of Easy Opens, we're going to be taking a look at Jada Toy's Street Fighter 2 Blanka figure. Blanka first appeared in the video game Street Fighter 2 The World Warrior on March 7th of 1991. A feral human man, despite his monstrous appearance, named Jimmy, who as a young boy was aboard a plane that was hijacked and brought down by Shadowloo, that resulted in him growing up in the Amazonian jungle. He has a very animalistic fighting style. He has the ability to generate his own electricity due to him being exposed to electric eels. His alignment is good. His likes are his mother, tropical fruits, and dolls of himself. His dislikes are army ants, being separated from his mother, and people who wear masks and the cold. All right, so Jada always does a great job with their boxes. It looks like an arcade cabinet. That's awesome. But we're not here to talk about the box. Let's get this figure free from its plastic prison and see what we think about Blanka. All right, so fresh out the box, y'all, this is Blanka. This is awesome. I am very happy with this figure. Jada has done it again. I am just very pleased with this. This figure just looks so cool and looks probably the most accurate of any Street Fighter action figure of this character that's ever been released, in my opinion. I think they pretty much nailed it perfectly. He feels great. He's got a heft to him, and he just feels pretty massive. Like not too big, but like pretty big. And he looks amazing. The hair on his chest and legs is awesome. The hair on his head is rubbery, but that's to allow for, movement and articulation and not like impede too much of that. But it looks extremely well done. I mean, I guess the only issue I'm seeing is the line where they have to insert the plastic and mold it together. But that's a minor nitpick. It's not the end of the world, but it is something kind of noticeable. That's unfortunate, but like everything else looks pretty flawless on this thing. The texture of the shorts is really cool. It's very subtle, but it's still there. It's not as pronounced as some of the other figures in this line, but they look amazing. The wrinkles in the shorts just catch the light, add some shadows, and really bring this figure to life in like a 3D kind of way. And not like it's popping out at you, not like his shorts are like bulging out at you or anything, but like it doesn't just look like shorts were painted on an action figure. There's detail there, and it's awesome. And then the frayed parts along the waistband and then the legs, really cool. Nice pop of color that kind of breaks up the rest of the color scheme and like contrast. And yeah, that's really cool. The shackles on his legs are neat. They did a great job painting them so they look almost like real metal, but they're definitely plastic. I know some figures have included chains with this character. You can do that very easily. They allow for a little loop that's there, and so you can easily just go buy a chain and like clip it to it, and you'd have a metal chain there. And the teeth and the nails just add more stark white that contrast with the rest of the color scheme again. And yeah, I don't know. This figure is definitely my favorite Blanka figure I've ever owned. And I've owned a few. And in fact, I've already gotten rid of some just based on the look of this figure alone. I've got rid of all my other Blanka figures. And so super happy with this. The musculature is awesome. The veins in his arms look really cool. And the articulation is there, and he's fun to move around and play with, and the heft of him is great. Yeah, so fresh out the box, yeah, very happy and taken with this figure. So Blanka comes with 2 interchangeable heads, 4 interchangeable hands, and 2 semi-translucent electricity effects. All right, so now let's take a look at the articulation you're going to get out of Blanka. So starting at the head, you've got 360 at the neck. He can look up quite a bit, actually. He can look down a real good amount as well. He's got great side-to-side movement in the neck, head area, and he's got the extra bit of articulation that's in the chest neck where that meets. And it's not much, but it adds quite a bit to give it that little bit extra of a angle to get him into some cool poses, and just allows for a lot more motion there, which is really neat. He's got the butterfly shoulder joints, which are really cool, and just a huge thing for me in action figures nowadays, where I'm like, if they don't have them, I'm kind of like, I don't know about that. He's got 360 at the shoulder. He's got a joint. Mine are super tight. He's got a joint there for some up and down movement as well in the shoulder. He's got 360 at the bicep. He's got a double jointed elbow, and he's also got 360 at the wrist with a hinge at the wrist for some front to back motion as well. And then moving on to the torso, he's got it's probably 360, but I don't know if you can hear the clicking on mine. I'm a little nervous to push it all the way, but more than likely he could probably get close to 360 if you pushed it, but I don't know, maybe not, because I don't think he can actually. I think he gets stopped there. So nevertheless, still a decent range of motion in the chest area. He's got some like major bend back abilities, I guess you could call it. He could also lean forward quite a bit as well. And then in the waist area, 360 at the waist. And then moving on down to the legs, you've got a awesome split range, which is fantastic. And then he can kick forward a great amount, like almost practically like in like, I guess it's a right angle. I don't know. Can't do math on the mic. Backwards, he's got great motion there too as well. And then he's got 360 swivel at the thigh cut. He's got a double jointed knee right there. And then he's got an ankle pivot and rocket. What am I saying? An ankle rocker, and he can pivot and move it all around, and it is really nice. And I think he's got a swivel in there too, there's a swivel. Yeah, there it is. You can see it right there, that he's got a calf cut. I guess that's what that is. And so, yeah, you got a ton of motion in the feet, which is really awesome. And if I'm not mistaken, that is all the articulation you're going to get out of Blanka. All right, so according to StreetFighter.fandom.com, Blanka stands at 6'4" and weighs 216 pounds. This figure stands at 7 3/8 of an inch to the top of his hair, and he weighs 9 ounces. Now let's see how he measures up to some other figures you might have in your collection. Here he is with SH Figuarts Senkosho Seiho Kamen Rider Kuga and Hasbro's Marvel Legends Cyclops. Here he is with NECA's Sesame Street Bert and Super 7's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Casey Jones. Here he is with Jada Toys Mega Man and NECA's Return to New York Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Leonardo. Here he is with Hasbro's Fortnite Shadow Meowscles and Figma's Pokemon Gloria. Here he is with McFarlane's Mortal Kombat Shao Kahn and Mattel's Masterverse Clawful. Here he is with Marvel Select Juggernaut and Marvel Select Colossus. Here he is with SH Figuarts Chun-Li and Ryu. Here he is with Jada Toys Street Fighter Cammy and Dalsim. Here he is with Soda Toys Balrog and Sagat. And here he is with the SH Figuarts Street Fighter V Blanka. Blanka was one of the first characters in Street Fighter that I gravitated to, if not the first one. Probably because he was a big green monster and looked vastly different from the rest of the roster. Based on that alone, and then with his electric powers, that all just left me wondering what his story was. He's such an icon for the series, just as much as Chun-Li or Ryu is. Really, I think all of the 8 original characters are pretty iconic. So, I mean, I guess that's not really saying much. But still, I just love that he was a character too that like resonated and had staying power and has been in a bunch of the games since then and has been culturally relevant and all of that stuff. And Jada did an amazing job bringing this figure to life in plastic form. I feel like this is the best Blanka figure we've ever got in this scale. I had the SH Figuarts one, and it was interesting. It served its role, but I don't know. It just didn't really work for me as much as I wanted it to. And then I had the Soda one, which was really cool, especially for its time. But like, as soon as I saw this one getting previewed at San Diego and whatnot, I immediately sold my other two, and I was like, nope, this is my Blanka going forward, and I am still 100% behind that decision. He feels really great, like most Jada figures do, but just bulkier than most of them, and I just really dig that, because he's got a little bit more heft to him, and like I've said on plenty of my reviews, that something about that connection with the figure, like when you're holding it and it's got weight, it feels like it's substantial. Yeah, Blanka totally has that, and it's really awesome. Again, I feel like they nailed the look of the face and just the overall sculpt and colors and everything. I am very happy with everything aesthetically about this figure and how it looks and feels. I absolutely love the electric effects, especially the fact that they can stand on their own. That's just awesome. And they're so nondescript that you can use them for other things. And I think that Jada is aware of that, and they're kind of like collectors like us, so they're cognizant of things that collectors want out of action figures, especially accessories, and I think they do a pretty good job of that, at least so far in the line. Always appreciate extra hands, but you know, always want more. And the extra open aggressive head is excellent. I feel like almost every action figure needs to have the closed mouth serious face and then the open mouthed yelling face. Like, just give us both of those, and then anything else is extra. That's fine, but the standard needs to be those two. And with Blanka, I think Jada nailed it with the faces. It's awesome. This figure is super fun to pose and play around with and like get into just different situations, and has so much cool articulation, which is kind of the standard for Jada. They kind of stick to what they know really well, and they do it really well, and it kind of makes a cohesiveness throughout their line, which is awesome, because if you've got one, you kind of have an idea of how the figure will move and whatnot, and that's really cool. And Blanka's no different. He's just a little bigger, but I still think the MVP of this line and these figures' articulation is the butterfly joint in the shoulders chest area. And I know that Marvel Legends is doing this too, and I would say the same thing about them. That articulation alone has kind of reinvigorated my excitement about playing with action figures and stuff. And I love that kind of innovation. I don't know, there's something about the way that Jada implements the articulation into these figures that makes me just, I don't know, it just feels kind of magical, I guess, like in a sense that like this feels like how an action figure should be and should move, and the way that they're able to incorporate it and maintain the sculpt and make it fun to play with and not have too many stuck joints, and everything just works and it's just nice and fun to pose. It just gets you wondering, like, why aren't other figures in the same scale and price point doing the exact same thing? I don't know. I just think Jada's just doing a great job here. And then speaking of other lines, this Blanka goes extremely well with other action figure lines, especially Marvel Legends and other superhero video game related characters as well, given that, you know, he's a video game character, but he has a look about him that he seems like he could go with anything that has a vaguely comic or video game-esque look to it. So if you want to like throw him with some Nintendo characters, you can. If you want to throw him with some like superhero characters, you can. I think it works really well across lines. He might have a slight difficulty matching up to G.I. Joe Classified. I feel like there's a little bit too hard of a line with them, and there's a softness with Jada that sort of kind of doesn't necessarily mesh. You could probably make it work, especially with Blanka, but I still think that he works a lot better with like your Marvel Legends and your other superhero characters. But that being said, he also works extremely well with the other Jada Street Fighter figures, and you can't ask for much more than that. So overall, I absolutely love this figure of Blanka. This figure's pretty perfect in my opinion. So there you go. So if you're picking up the Jada Street Fighter line, you absolutely need this. If you've got the older Blanka figures from Soda or SH Figuarts, I'd argue that this one is way better than those. If you've got a shelf of green-skinned characters, Blanka will fit right in there. If you've got a shelf dedicated to characters with electric powers, Blanka will also work there, especially with his accessories. Or if you're a fan of characters whose parents only recognize them by their anklet, then you will not be disappointed with Jada's Blanka. All right, well, that's going to do it for me today. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, hit the like button. If you want to see more from me, hit subscribe. And let me know in the comments, what's your favorite Street Fighter character and game? And until then, else time.